Well, hey everybody, welcome to the channel. This is going to be one of my first videos that I make for the channel, and before I start it, I just wanted to say that I appreciate you guys checking it out. I hope that this channel is just really kind of sincere and down to earth about the vehicles that we drive, the adventures that we take. I believe that there's a lot of high intensity things surrounding off-road and overlanding things, as far as like what you should have, how much it costs, and I can tell you from experience that it's not that expensive, and it's best to start out with what you have. So here he is. This is Jeff, as the kids and I like to call him.
My name is Jeff.
This is our, again, 2004 Suburban 2500. This one is equipped with a 6-liter, and if you're familiar with these trucks, they would either come with the 6-liter or the 8.1. This one is also equipped with the 4L80. But the first thing I would like to show you guys as part of this walk around of the Suburban is we ended up swapping out the rear end from a 9.5 14 bolt to a 10.5 full float 14 bolt. My reason for doing that is the locker options for the 14 bolt full float are obviously much stronger. The 9.5 is a great axle too. There's nothing wrong with that axle, but with the 14 bolt I could throw in a Detroit locker for about $450 for the locker. This one, unfortunately though, came with the G80 locker, so I didn't have the open differential, which is what you need for a Detroit locker. So these, in any vehicle, I would say if you do any exploring off-road, if you really want to, you know, get out there, a locker is secondary to a winch, but I believe that a locker is definitely a necessity if you really want to get out there. I would say even before larger tires. So that's why we went with the full float 14 bolt. And then also, if we ever get into real trouble and we start to get really crazy, we can, you know, if we snap an axle, you back these guys out and you can easily pull this, replace the axle, and keep on moving. So that's something really cool about having a full float 14 bolt. I'm sure that the next thing people might want to know about are the tires. And the first thing I think is important to note about these is you can see like the fenders on these are kind of square. Unfortunately, that makes it difficult to put anything really larger than 33s on these, mainly in the front, without rubbing. So these are 33s, basically the come out to be 285/70 17 Milestar Patagonia MTs. These are 10 ply. These are pretty heavy duty sidewalls, and with that, because of that, I should say, we run these at about 35 psi's on the road, which sounds kind of low for a 3/4 ton truck, but I can tell you, once you get up above 40 on tires this thick with 10 ply rubber, they get really rough. So that's why we run them a little bit lower on the psi's. And then off-road, I'd typically drop them all the way down to 10 or 12 psi's. We're actually about to go to the Outer Banks, so we're going to run these at 10 psi's on the beach, and that smooths everything out really well. The wheels are 17 by 9, I believe. It could even be 10, I apologize, but they are Pro Comp wheels, and the offset is -6. I was wanting to find wheels that would be -12, but it seemed like for whatever reason on 8-lug pattern wheels, I don't know if it has something to do with the load ratings and the requirements for that with 3/4 ton trucks, but the -6 on the Pro Comps was the deepest I could go on an offset. So that's what we're running on these tires. I like them, and you know, I think that people's opinions vary on the Milestars and how they look. I think it works for this truck. They look a little narrower to me than, say, some Wild Peaks or something like that, which have like the rubber is pretty much the widest part, or the tread I should say is pretty much the widest part about those tires. And these you can see like they kind of narrow towards the tread, which is, you know, it's whatever. So it's just, it is what it is. But from there we have installed a Midland radio in the interior here. Have that set up right here. I apologize, I don't remember the model on this. Not really good at giving you details on that. I might put that in the description. So not much going on in the interior. Let me pop the hood and show you what we've done with the winch and the install of that. So I said winch, but let's go ahead and talk about the bumper real quick. This is a Move Embark series bumper. These, if you're familiar with Move or not, they are a DIY bumper kit where they send you all the steel pieces and you basically tack them all together and weld this yourself. I got the one with the bull bar, which I felt was needed. It just kind of helps protect the front end from trees and branches and obviously animals, if that be the case. And then inside of it, we loaded it up with the Badland Apex 12,000 pound winch. And here, synthetic rope. I was really wanting something with a synthetic rope. And the other thing about this Move bumper, the Apex is a fairly large winch. If you compare it to entry-level, say, Smittybilts or Harbor Freight winches, like this is a Harbor Freight winch, but it's a much bigger and beefier winch. So it was harder to fit in here. But the thing is about these trucks, if you're specifically looking for bumpers for the 2500 range GM platform, you're going to have issues with finding off-road bumpers for them. And if you do find one, they're either hideous or the ARB, which I've actually heard the ARBs for these are pressed steel and they rust really quickly, and unfortunately they don't represent ARB very well. They're apparently pretty cheaply made. And then also the ARB bumper sticks out like probably about 12 inches to, I don't know, maybe 16 inches off of the front end. So the approach angle on these is not that great to begin with. And if you imagine that bumper sticking out even farther, then that's no go. It's a no go. So the Move bumper was obviously the most affordable, and I have a welder, so I was able to do that myself. And it's not that hard. If you're familiar with a little bit of welding and you have a good welder, I would say you need to have a good welder for that, first of all. But I wouldn't shy away from it. I think it's a great option if you guys want to try that out. So that's the bumper. The way we've installed the winch is to have the controller remotely mounted, because as you can tell, there is absolutely no room for that in here. So this is the 6-liter V8. I just replaced the alternator with a 145 amp alternator. Anyways, here is the control box for the winch. It's pretty large. You guys can see in there, it's a pretty substantial piece of equipment. These are 2-gauge battery cable basically that I've installed, and for the run, from what I understand, 2-gauge wiring is pretty much all you need for this setup. And so that runs all the way through here underneath the cold air and out the front and up to the winch. And then on this side I have a fuse box for our radio, and then I'm going to connect some lights to that and any other accessories we might run, say an inverter, hopefully here in the near future. So it's pretty stripped down, very basic, not much going on in here. That is the winch setup. So our roof rack setup is a DIY piece that I made myself. I'm not super excited about it. I think it's great for what it is. I wanted to get storage up towards the front of the truck, and we were able to do that. This is all steel that I found from my parents' yard for free. Chopped it up, welded it together, threw a Smittybilt awning on this side, and then a Smittybilt rooftop tent up there. Both, as far as I'm concerned, are really the most affordable way to get into a rooftop tent and awning, and they have been great for every adventure we've done. They've never let us down, nothing's broken, and I've been kind of rough on them as well, and they've been taking it Let me just show you here kind of how I have this connected, this rack. What I've done is it's really simple. Put some lag bolts in there and drilled through, if you guys can see that, drilled through the rack, the original rack, and put some spacers in there because these racks actually do have a little bit of an arch in them. So we've got 4 bolts total on this rack, and we've got 4 bolts total for the rooftop tent. All right, sorry, I had to take a minute there. We have a air show, I guess, in the area. Getting a little noisy with the airplanes, but like I was saying, we have the tent actually attached to, I believe this is 1 1/4 square tubing. I didn't measure it. We have 2 separate pieces of steel running underneath the tent because in the off season, or if we're taking a road trip, I do like to remove this just for aerodynamics. I would like to try to get as much miles to the gallon as I can, which this thing is not going to give us much no matter what I do. But on the highway without the rooftop tent, we get about 14 if we stay on the highway. So basically what that means is I just take off the nut underneath here and I can remove the tent separately. All right, and finally, let me just show you what we're doing, or what we have in the back of this to be, basically function as our storage and things that we kind of like to keep in the truck. I've built this drawer system out of 3/4 inch plywood, and then this is also 3/4 inch, but it's maple plywood. And this is really, this is not because this is how you should make one, but this is just what I had on hand, and it's 2021, so this whole thing is probably worth $300 or $400 as in plywood itself. But basically all I did was just really built this as a box. This outer piece is separate. It has an individual, well, I'm sorry, a piece there to separate the 2 drawers. This is not precision engineering, so I first say that. But if I can show you under here, there is some Teflon runners here. Good grief, bro. All right, let's try that again. As you guys can tell, there's a lot of noise going on. So again, I have this Teflon that I purchased, I think, on Amazon, and it's not super smooth because you can even tell right there that this, I think, is still riding on the plywood itself, which is kind of causing a little bit of a drag. So it takes a little bit of muscle when these things are loaded up. But these are basically the necessities. Got some hammocks, extension winch straps, or just tow strap, a tree saver here, and this is for the clevis out of the hitch in the back. First aid kit, of course, some extra clevises in there, a fold-out shovel, which is garbage. I actually want to replace that. A big old tarp in case things get a little wet. And then we're going to the beach this week, so I do not keep this in here, but we have some starter fluid for starting some not bonfires, but our charcoal while we're out there. And then on this side, we have a blanket that kind of stays in here. This is our black stone skillet, which I highly recommend those. It really does pretty much everything we need it to. We can grill burgers on it, pancakes on it, eggs on it, enchiladas, whatever you want to do, you can cook it on there. And then this is our quick boil that we use for coffee. It's an Amazon jobby, so nothing too crazy there to really cover. And then we have a fire extinguisher, and then my chair I just keep in here, and then a couple odds and ends. So that's basically what we keep in here. And then some Max, or not, whoa, Max Tracks. They would be insulted by that. These are X-Spool traction boards, and I kind of want to get a couple more of them. They work great. I believe if you have to make a choice between having them or not having them, I would not worry about paying $350 for Max Tracks and waiting for that. These are a necessity, I will tell you that. So having more, the merrier. And these are about 4 years old. They've gotten some wear on them. You can see they have a little bit of a bow to them, very slight. They've been under semis, they've been under the Suburban, they've been under full-size pickup trucks and everything pretty much their entire life. I've also used those to help a woman out of a ditch that she ended up getting stuck in. she was trying to make a U-turn. I think it was a RAV4, and she ended up in a hole, and I just threw those on her tires, and that was all she needed. We had a winch as well, but we didn't think that was necessary. And yeah, so that's pretty much everything about this truck. You guys have any questions about it? If you have any critiques about it, I'm honestly always looking to improve. This is a rarely used platform, and there's reasons for that, you know, but for us, we have 4 kids and my wife and I, so we really can't fit into a 4Runner. We can't really fit into a Land Cruiser. There's nothing out there that really fits our whole family, so this is the best that we can do. And this one actually has 206,000 miles on it right now. It was a North Carolina truck, so no rust to speak of, besides a little bit on a runner down there, which I gotta repair. But this has been a superb vehicle for us. Averages probably 11 miles to the gallon city and highway mixed into that, but like I said, if I just go down the interstate for a while, we'll get about 14 in this. And then eventually I'm going to give you guys a rundown of our Discovery 1 over here, which we just saved from a parking lot. We found that in a parking lot about a month ago actually, and he sat there for about 2 years and back on the road again. Has already done several trails, and of course is a superb off-road vehicle compared to this. And I won't knock this, but obviously there's a size difference. And the funny thing is that has jumpers in the back, and so we all fit in there, but as you can tell, there's definitely going to be zero space for our stuff, whereas this, we can go anywhere with this. And we have a winch, so we can pretty much get out of any trouble that we find ourselves in. So that is our 2004 Suburban 2500, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video.